Hi, everybody.
Oh,
It's Orange and Blue today.
No countdown today, huh?
No countdown. No, we're
We're
dealing with stuff at Centura Health Training Center. I should know what it is because it's right there in front of me on the wall. But welcome in, Mace. Broncos got a quarterback.
Also behind us a few times.
It's right there.
Centura.
Beautiful new field, by the way.
Yes.
But we're here because Bo Nix talked today, Mace. Simply fantastic. We talked to him at the Senior Bowl, but great to see him again now as the Broncos, hopefully, franchise quarterback.
Great to see him, and really, it's kind of like the process of us who cover the team kind of really accelerates today. I think one thing we learned in terms of what'll be interesting about covering Bo Nix and being around him, the dude loves to talk ball.
Yes.
Loves to get into the nitty gritty. I'm looking forward to, as he develops and becomes the starter sees, I'm looking forward to those post-game press conferences, those Wednesday press conferences, when we sit down and we ask him about a play. And he's going to dive in and give you some detail on it. And when you hear him talk ball, you understand why Sean Payton liked him so much.
Yes.
They, we like to say shared moments on this show.
Very much so.
Bo and Sean, I think, had some real shared moments when they met in Eugene, Oregon last month. And
right.
That's a big part of why he's
here. And I say this with all due respect, Mace, but they nerded out together on football. And that's a good thing because they're both football nerds. They love film study. Mm-hmm. They love offensive design. They love attacking opponents. Yeah. Both of these two do. So I love the connection. Maybe not a spiritual connection, but like just a connection and philosophy of what you want.
Yes. And an understanding of things, of high level concepts. Like I can imagine Sean Payton sitting there and throwing stuff at Bo Nix and the way he responds to it. By the way, we have some clips from Bo Nix today.
Yes.
Are they all ready? Are they all good to go? Or is the last one still?
We're dealing with stuff here at Dove Valley, so we'll get it up when we want to. Well, let's continue the conversation. I'll tell you when they're ready.
Okay. All right. What were you going to say then?
No, we're talking about Bo Nix here and just being the processor and loving what his coach wants him to do. So which clip do you want to play first? Because we have Payton on what a rookie quarterback needs. That's the first clip you sent me. Maybe we should start with that.
Let's start there. Let's pivot a little bit because this is actually a good place to start our discussion of what to expect today and tomorrow. Because what a rookie quarterback needs in Sean Payton's eyes may not be what is around here, at least completely. We've talked about a good O-line, but one of his answers partially has to do with the O-line, but the other answer has nothing to do with the O-line. So
right.
Let's roll that beautiful bean footage.
This is the first time I've been involved or part of a group, part of a team that drafted a quarterback in the first round. We've tried to do it before, and it's exciting. The challenge is exciting, but it's still all right. You want good quarterback play, and the two biggest allies to that, I believe strongly, are good defensive play and a running game. In other words, if you're a quarterback and you're having trouble running the ball, let's get worse. If you're a quarterback and you're having trouble running the ball and stopping people, your job description becomes very difficult. But when you're playing good defense and you have a running game, your job description is a little bit more palatable.
Defense in a ground game, Mace. Quarterback's best friend.
Okay. So let's talk about that because you and I did a show not too long ago. We talked about a need at running back.
Midnight?
Yeah. But we talked about that. We did a show pre-draft.
The running back show. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I know there are people out there like, why? You got Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams wasn't productive last year, and there's no guarantee he gets back to where he was before he had that horrific injury back in October of 2022 in Las Vegas.
Right.
So you have Jaleel McLaughlin. By the way, focus on what they do, not what they say. Not insignificant that Jaleel McLaughlin was on one of the promotional videos for the new uniforms. So was Javonte Williams.
Yes.
To be fair.
Right.
But it wouldn't all surprise me to see them add a running back. Maybe not today, although some could be tempting today. Ray Davis, University of Kentucky. You've got your guy.
Right.
I've
got a couple of different guys. Marshawn Lloyd's my number one running back.
Yeah.
Ray Davis had a top 30 visit with this team,
Yes.
though. So if they take a skill position player, it might be playmaking tight end, but it also might be running back, which I think might shock some people, Mace.
The other thing also, and I was thinking about this in regards to Bo Nix, because Sean Payton talked about Alex Forsythe, who, of course, went to the University of Oregon, was Bo Nix's center back in 2022 there, and mentioned how he was hitting up Forsythe for insight into Bo Nix. Okay. And I bring that up because we're talking about running back. One of the coaches who knows one of the running back prospects very well is in that building over there, and that's Jim Leonard, the passing game coordinator on the defensive side, who, of course, defensive coordinator and interim head coach at the University of Wisconsin up through the 2022 season. And the guy he knows very well is Braylon Allen. And Braylon Allen, we know, thinks very highly of Jim Leonard. And
yes,
it's vice versa. It's a mutual admiration society. So that's one that maybe you're talking about fourth round running back, but that's
you want someone
that's a name
different
maybe to keep your eye on.
than what you have. And Allen would fit that mold, because
he's
Jaleel is
massive.
a certain thing and Javonte is a certain thing, but get something you don't have. And that's a huge back that moves really well, actually moves like a smaller back, but still can run with power and authority.
And then we get to deeper into day 3. That's where you're talking about Blake Watson out of Memphis, Jake Sheridan out of Monmouth.
Yep.
A couple of guys we saw down at the Shrine in January.
You've got options. And the nice thing about, and we'll get more into this later because we're going to do a show tonight. Y'all love the midnight show. We saw the YouTube numbers. You guys loved it.
I was amazed how many people were watching that thing live.
I know. It was crazy.
Don't y'all go to bed?
I don't think anyone's sleeping. But the maybe they were sleeping like a baby after the Bo Nix pick. Once you did calm down from the adrenaline. But today's a pick your poison type of thing at both receiver and running back as well. Mm-hmm. You have different styles. What kind of style do you want? We'll see. The style of Bo Nix, though, display.
But first, before we move on to Bo Nix, the other thing he talked about was defense.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And he mentioned the running game on offense, but what's the weakest area of defense? It's stopping the run. And that's where a guy like T'Vondre Sweat out of Texas, with whom the Broncos did have a top 30 visit, could come into play and be the guy you're talking about there in round 3.
I think he might fall to day 3.
Because of the DWI that he had?
Yep. Anytime you have an off-field thing like that right before the draft, it's going to drop you to day 3. When you're already, I had Sweat as a third-round pick. When you're already a third-round pick, you've got a DWI, you get dropped.
Well, that's also where you have him in, because he actually came in for his visit after the DWI.
Right.
So you start asking some questions.
Yes, and you find out.
Yeah, you find out from him, and you find out from people who know him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is this isolated? Is this something to really be concerned about? Is this going to recur?
Right. Yeah. So we'll see what style they want and what they go with here on day 2 of the draft. And again, post-draft show later, probably about midnight again. Honestly, we're going to time it up about the same. So,
but Saturday is an earlier morning because, of course,
I know,
day 3, 10 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Mountain Time start.
Well, I was up at 8 a.m. on the air, so.
Yeah, Broncos currently have 6 picks on day 3,
mm-hmm.
by the way.
Yeah.
Including, because they traded down for Zach Wilson, the next to last pick in the draft. Trust me when I say that's a sports writer's nightmare.
Almost Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, but not quite. But the thing is, that means you're getting that pick, and then you're trying to get the conference call with that pick, and then right on the heels of that, you're going to have the post-draft presser.
Wrap it up presser.
Sean Payton and George Payton, which is usually, especially with Sean Payton, that's something that could take a while.
Yes.
There could be some long answers. You know, the question I asked Sean Payton last night, the answer was nearly 5 minutes long.
That's awesome. Maybe not to transcribe. Sorry, Tyler.
We clipped 50 seconds out of that earlier, the show, the clip that we showed.
Mm-hmm.
It was the best 50 seconds because Sean went into storytelling mode, going all the way back to, when he started with Kerry Collins, I'm like, okay, we're tracing all this. We're taking all this. He mentioned Kerry Collins. He mentioned Tony Romo, Quincy Carter, Drew Bledsoe, mentioned the 3 quarterbacks that they were considering drafting in New Orleans in 2006.
Right.
Vince Young, Matt Leinart, Jay Cutler, and then Drew Brees became available. Like, he basically kind of was taking taking a trail along the steps of his career.
Take a little trip right?
Yes.
Sean Payton. We've got Bo Nix, and my question to wrap up the press conference today. I had to say Senior Bowl in the question, Mace. I get extra points for that.
Of course you did.
Maybe negative points. Maybe positive, though. I'm always positive, unless I'm driving. Anyway, I asked him, what does it mean when Sean Payton chooses you? I choose you, Mace.
All righty.
That's what Sean Payton said.
Lisa Simpson to Ralph Wiggum.
Exactly. Can you be my Valentine?
Maybe that's something. Maybe we need to do like a meme off that.
I
Like-
choose you.
like,
Have the Valentine over.
Have it like a picture of Sean Payton and Bo Nix, and there's like little. We put the Valentine there.
Yeah. Well, we don't have time to do it. So if someone out there wants to do it for us, we can
Well,
have
then
our fans
The other
help
thing-
us out.
That could we have the one at the end? Let's be friends, and there's a little bee on, like a buzzing bee on there.
This is what Bo
Ralph.
Nix said when I asked him about what's it feel like when Sean Payton says, "You're my guy."
Well, it's first and foremost, it's just a huge honor. He could have picked, anybody else in this draft, and he chose me. But with that, comes great responsibility and one that I can't take lightly and I won't take for granted. But it starts with the next best thing that I can do. I'm about to finish this press conference and go and finish out the tour, and then have a few weeks before the rookie mini camps, and then have a lot to learn before then. And so I'm glad there are 2 weeks of buffer time so that I can get a lot of that in. But just excited to be his guy. That's it's not lightly said. And so, but again, it goes back. I don't want to just be a draft pick. I want to be able to show my improvements and show that I can do what he picked me to do, and that's go out there and win games, or help win games. Do whatever I can to put his team in a better situation.
Uncle Ben
Yes,
Spider-Man.
almost, right?
almost said, "With great power comes great responsibility."
He did. And the great power of Sean Payton now looking for the great responsibility that is on Bo Nix. He did say his team.
Yeah.
Bo, it's your team. Today, the Denver Broncos become Bo Nix's
Ooh.
team.
No pressure. You just got here. It's your That's the way it is when you're quarterback.
Right.
It's part of the great power that comes with a great responsibility. And I mean, I put it out there last night. This got a lot of reaction on social media. Sean Payton basically put his legacy in the hands of Bo Nix.
Right.
For Sean Payton to be a Hall of Famer as a coach, which certainly is a goal that he has, at minimum, they've got to get to a Super Bowl here, if not win one. And the player with the single most weight in making that happen is obviously the quarterback, and the quarterback that he just picked. Because if Bo Nix doesn't succeed, this team will struggle, and down the line, they'll be looking for a new head coach.
Yes.
That's the way of things. And, sure, Sean Payton's had a successful career, but there are a lot of coaches who were successful in the first spot, went somewhere else, and couldn't recreate it.
Jimmy Johnson.
Although they were a playoff team, Miami, they weren't bad. I think of George Seifert in the 1990s with the 49ers. They won Super Bowl 24 and 29 on his watch. The first with Joe Montana, the second one with Steve Young. And then he goes to Carolina after being out for a couple of years. Starts off not fine, 8-8. After they went 4-12, 4-game improvement. 7-9 the second year, 1-15 the third year.
That's
George
bad,
Seifert's that's bad. He's never coached again.
Does Sean Payton want to be in that group? No, of course not. He wants to win another Super Bowl.
Bill Parcells never won a Super Bowl anywhere else, although he got to a Super Bowl with the Patriots, and he
Right.
did win everywhere he went.
Right.
But yeah, like there's no guarantee. In fact, I mean there are people who look at those outcomes and say, okay, that's why maybe you shouldn't have gone with Sean Payton. You should have gone with a younger coach. Oh, let me make this clear, by the way. DeMeco Ryans wasn't coming here. I know there's a lot of people like to fantasize about that. Wasn't happening.
Yeah.
Houston.
That was his spot.
Houston was where he played. It was where his wife was from. And oh, by the way, Houston at the time had 2 top 10 picks.
It's pretty
the
good.
Broncos didn't have. Houston was a better situation. Of course, he was going to go there.
Right. Right. So we've got Bo Nix talking about his processor. Probably the best question from Bruce. Bruce over there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got all of our friends, that are here with us at Centura Health Training Center. And we have also Nick's on the meeting, right?
Let's talk about the meeting.
Okay.
The meeting after his pro day in Eugene, Oregon. And Sean Payton did what he discussed back in Orlando last month, sent Bo Nix all the details, all the things to study. And so if you're Bo Nix, how do you ingest that overnight enough to where you feel like you're ready for the meeting with Sean Payton? Bo talked about that.
Well, yeah, we talked about it. It was a challenge. He wanted to see as late as possible he could give it, so it was kind of a quick turnaround. But I feel like I played in many different systems and offenses, so all it is really piecing things together and memorization at that point. And then once you memorize it, you begin to learn it, and it kind of becomes second nature. So excited to get even more in depth with what I've already been able to learn. And I felt like when we had that meeting, they were great at teaching it, and even after we left, I had such a better understanding of what it was just before when I was studying it on my own. But all you can do is just hit it head on. You just start and you go, and you just start from the top and you go through it and you learn it and learn it the best you can.
Here's the thing. He talked about systems he's learned. 5 offensive coordinators.
5.
In his college years, first at Auburn and then at Oregon. So it's something he has a lot of experience with, but doing it that quickly, that's unusual. And he wasn't expected to get all of it. The whole point of the exercise is finding out where the breaking point is. But obviously the breaking point for Bo Nix was pretty far along because he's sitting here right now. He showed exactly what Sean Payton wanted to see.
Right. That's where that supercomputer comes in.
Yep.
So is there a breaking point for Sean Payton? Can you imagine if a guy sat at a table watching film and chopping it up and it exhausted Sean?
No. I think he feeds off that. Like an energy vampire feeds off of other people's energy. I think Sean Payton feeds off that. When Bo Nix or somebody is talking ball and going into details, you probably, kind of see his eyes turn blue as he kind of feeds,
He's ready to go.
Yeah, it's probably a mega feed for Sean Payton.
Well, and that's why Bo Nix is here. I'm sure that Sean Payton, I called it maybe something I can't say on air, but I said it on air last night. I'll just say it's a fantasy. Sean Payton's fantasy came true because a guy that loves ball as much as he does is right here as his quarterback.
Fantasy.
Yes. Certain type of dream is what I said on the air.
Figured, yes.
And then I got some looks, so I was like, maybe I can't say that. I don't know.
We were talking earlier about just what happens if Bo Nix gets out there in a game and completes 6 straight passes, keeps the offense on rhythm, they march down the field. I don't know if I can say it on the show, but there may be a reaction to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think there would be a good reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have a lot of in the forest?
Trees.
Or at a lumber yard?
Wood.
There you go.
Let's talk about the processor. This is the answer. If you're not sold on Bo Nix, 1, what the hell, bro? 2, listen to this answer, Mace. And if you understand ball and you hear this young man talk ball, you can see why it came together for Sean Payton. So I love this question. Yeah. I was actually going to ask it. Bruce asked it right before me. I had the final question, so I had to ask something different, which is fine. But it's a great question. And I love Bo Nix's answer.
That's a great question. So it starts throughout the week with your preparation. It starts with what you can learn and what you already know and how you can put it together, how you can collaborate with coaches and other players to form a game plan that's going to best fit you and go out there and essentially execute it. You got to be as efficient as possible. So processing to me means taking something, from the sideline, being able to evaluate it and see all the pros and the cons of the play and understand that whatever happens, you got to react to it. So every play starts usually now in the league starts with a huddle, starts with a play call. Then there's probably a shift or a motion or a movement. There's going to be a cadence. There's going to be probably a primary play and a secondary play. You got to figure out all this is just offense. So now you got to look at the defense and see what they're in. You got to see the front through the linebackers to the safeties. And then once you see that, you just process everything, and then hopefully your preparation has led you up to the point to where you can find the solution.
That was just part of his answer.
That was part of it. Yeah, that's half of it. I mean,
You had to clip the answer.
otherwise, we couldn't have gone in the show. I mean,
It was good.
yeah. It's exciting. Like, it's the window to what Sean Payton wanted in a quarterback, right? And you can see why this trumped everything. It's not like the team doesn't have other needs that need to be addressed, but this was it. And don't think about QB6 because he wasn't their QB6. He was their QB3.
Right. And honestly, they're QB1 for what they could get.
Yeah.
All right. If you didn't want to trade Surtain, which they didn't want to trade Surtain, you weren't getting a 2, and there's no way in hell you were getting a 1. So all this QB6 talk is nonsense because that's stuff out of magazines or websites. The Broncos building had Bo Nix as number 3.
Yes. And that's what matters. Now, I thought it was interesting last night what was said that they had 6 quarterbacks going in the first round. Not necessarily 6 quarterbacks with first round grades, but going in the first round. There's a difference.
Right.
Most teams, in terms of first round grades, have 15 to 20.
And 20 is a good year.
Typically.
Usually
yes.
it's about 12 to 15
Yes.
for real first round graded players, which I believe Bo Nix has been.
So I don't think the Broncos had 6 quarterbacks with first round grades.
No.
I think they had 6 quarterbacks when they would mock and do it. But do I believe that they had Bo Nix with a first round grade? Yes. You had Bo Nix with a first round grade, so it's not
outlandish.
It's not
this whole you could get him in the second talk was always, I'll be nice, it was always bogus. It was always bogus. You could move back and get him in the second. That was never going to happen. Never.
And it really wasn't going to happen once Michael Penix Jr. went number 8 to Atlanta. That was the thing. That the notion of trading down before that, you might have been able to pull it off. But even then, limited. I'm not sure they could have gone reasonably farther than 17, Jacksonville.
Right.
When Penix went off the board, gone.
Get your guy.
Because, look, we're still sitting here. Another quarterback hasn't been taken. I'm fascinated to see where Spencer Rattler goes because he's almost certainly going to be QB7. But does he sneak into the second round because they're all gone?
Everyone told the truth in their evaluations or what they think of their draft boards. Now that day one is done, you had to make your picks, right?
Mm-hmm.
The truth with Rattler will come out soon enough. I haven't talked to anyone that has a second round grade on him. So
doesn't mean he might not go in the second
because
round.
He's the next guy up.
Yes. But, we say every year there's a run on positions. Oh, the run on running backs is happening. The run on wide receivers is happening.
Run on the second tier wide receivers
The
today.
run on quarterbacks, you had the first run, obviously, top of the draft. The run on QBs, then it was 8 to 12. And you felt like you had to get in because after QB 6 in terms of draft order, that's when the bottom fell out of the class. That's where the gap was. Every year with every position, there's a gap at some point in terms of the value. Like, you'll know it. Like, I think, for example, at wide receiver, there's going to be a gap after the end of the third round. Like, Malik Washington might be the last player on that side of the gap.
And that's where wide receiver falls off. There's some other guys, but they're more kind of,
projects.
niche guys. Right.
Taj Washington.
Taj Washington's a
niche guy. And David White Jr., who we've talked about, is a project guy.
Yes. Nice projects, but
there's
once
a reason
Malik goes.
There's a reason why we're talking about those guys more around 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
Than day 2. And yeah, it makes me a little sad that Malik Washington's going to go in day 2 because I think that probably takes him off the Broncos list. Even though he's the type of receiver that I think would flow very well with Bo Nix.
How about some more Oregon players? But I still say Bucky Irvin. If you want a running back, we started the show kind of with some running back conversation. Like Bucky Irvin, slot receiver who plays running back. I think that'd be nice.
You're looking for jokers. You have one with Jaleel McLaughlin. You don't really have one from tight end, but I don't think it matters where you get them. You want those players that you can move around, be chess pieces. That's what Bucky would be. Create some mismatches.
Yeah. Wonder what Bo would say about that.
Does Bo know?
Bo does know. That is for sure.
Bo knows Denver now. By the way, gave a shout out to Nikola Jokic. I guess he probably has to go back home. I think the coolest thing would be if they could somehow get him to the Avalanche game tonight.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said he didn't know much about hockey, but he knows the Avs are good.
He'll learn. You get around here, you'll learn a little bit. It gets cold in Denver. A lot colder than it does down in Alabama where he's from.
Yes. Where Kool-Aid McKinstry was his wide receiver. They won 2 or 3 state titles, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Well, he was varsity quarterback in 8th grade.
That's crazy.
I mean,
he's been recruited that long as well. They were recruiting him since he was a kid.
Yeah. In Alabama, state of Alabama football circles, Bo Nix has been a thing for over a decade.
Yeah.
So.
And sometimes those guys, they just end up being the man wherever they go. Now Bo Nix is here to work with Sean Payton. And it's the combination. I can't remember who we were talking to earlier today, but I was like, it's the combination. Oh, it was when Dave Logan asked us, what do you think? And I was like, it's the combination. I like Nix. You said Nix. Here is the good fit.
Yes. And the fit matters and the coaching matters. And that's why it's always interesting to look at how these quarterbacks turn out in a given year and how much of it is, the right situation.
Right.
You could argue the best situations are the 5th and 6th quarterbacks off the board. That J.J. McCarthy with Kevin O'Connell and Josh McCown in Minnesota, and then Bo Nix with Sean Payton, Pete Carmichael, Joe Lombardi, Davis Webb here. Those are the best situations. I'd say Jaden Daniels with Cliff Kingsbury is a good situation. I am less certain about Chicago, less certain about New England. I think Atlanta, coaching-wise, is a great situation.
Yes.
What screws that up is the dynamic. You just pay Kirk Cousins $100 million.
He'll be all right.
Yeah. And now he's got the QB of the future coming in. And his agent, Mike McCartney.
Who we like.
Yeah, we like. Local guy.
He doesn't like me, but I like him.
He's telling the world about it.
I said that Zach Dysert sucked, and Mike got mad at me. Sorry, Zach Dysert couldn't play, Mike. Sorry. He was his client.
Well, nobody truly sucks if they're in the NFL if they get to this point.
Let's just say he's not great.
At this level, yes.
Yeah. But Kirk Cousins will be okay. I've heard from so many Minnesota people that he was a problem behind the scenes when things didn't go exactly the way he wanted them to go. And you could even see that on film. But behind the scenes, it was like that as well. So if Kirk, you want to be a problem, you got your money, man. And Atlanta's got their future quarterback.
Yeah. And no, Michael Penix Jr. will not be waiting until he's 30 years old to get on the field as the regular quarterback.
No.
The first realistic out for the Falcons and Kirk Cousins is after the 2025 season. That's when I expect it to happen. I think it's 2 seasons of Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. And then, does he have anything left? If so, they'll move him on somewhere else. But that's when then Penix comes in after 2 years.
Yeah.
I would be curious to see, to learn a little bit more about the conversations that Penix had with Zach Robinson, with Raheem Morris.
Future head coach Zach Robinson.
Yes.
Chatfield Chargers.
But if he does well in Atlanta, he won't be able to take Penix with him.
Right.
But Raheem Morris, the big thing on Raheem Morris, even though most of his career's on defense, he has coached on the offensive side. That was one of the things.
That's a great hire.
Yes. So he's coached on offense and defense. He's worked under Mike Shanahan. He's worked with Kyle Shanahan in Atlanta.
Yep.
There. He worked with Sean McVay. In other words, he's got the playbook that we've seen translates.
Yes. But now he's got the guy in Penix that can absolutely sling it once Cousins is done. Okay. And I think bust factor, if we talk about that, it's super high with Caleb because of Chicago, not because of him. I think it's high with Drake May because of New England, not necessarily because of him. And it's really low with Bo Nix. Bo doesn't bust. Bo might level off. Bo might be like an average starter, but he might be a perennial Pro Bowler based on what Sean Payton gets out of him.
What if Bo Nix's career and performance looks a bit like Derek Carr's?
That's a really good starter.
Yes.
You got Derek Carr as your starter. That's a really good starter.
The thing is, that means you got to maximize the season when it happens. And with the Colossus in Kansas City, that may be what it comes down to. When you get that moment, maximizing it. The Raiders had a moment in 2016, on track to win the division, it looked like. Carr got hurt.
Right.
And then, God, who did they start in the playoffs? Matt McGloin, I believe, when they went down to Houston.
Yeah, I think so.
And it went poorly. And we look back
great.
We look back on that Raiders run in the mid 2010s when they built a team that looked like it was going somewhere, and then it faded back in 2017. That was the chance. And unfortunately, when you have a power like Kansas City, you might be looking at a bunch of seasons where you're a wild card type of team, and then you maybe have one real shot, and then it can go awry for something beyond your control. But Carr had a good career with the Raiders. I'd like to think Nix can maybe be a bit more. Maybe we're talking more like Matt Ryan.
He's a Jared Goff with a faster processor. Yeah. I said something different.
Jared Goff's a pretty successful quarterback.
Jared Goff with a faster processor is a damn good quarterback.
For all that we make fun of him about because...
Doesn't know which direction the sun comes up.
Yeah, that was in Hard Knocks in 2016.
Hey, he was a kid. He was a rookie, right?
I mean, I knew which direction the sun set when I was like 5
kindergarten
years old. I mean,
yeah. It's been a minute.
I don't know where Jared Goff went to school, but he was football smart.
Sure.
He's learned some complex offenses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he learned the scheme with the Rams, of course, the Sean McVay offense. And he's flourishing in Detroit where they're doing a lot of the Sean Payton things.
Yep.
And there's nothing simple about those schemes at all.
Not whatsoever.
So, yeah, Jared Goff, that actually doesn't sound like a bad career.
No, not at all.
But the Broncos aren't going to go off and win a bunch of division titles. It's just not possible in this division the way it's structured. Success may have to be measured a little bit differently in this environment, not just in the AFC West, but in the AFC as a whole. And it's possible you could do a lot of things right, but you maybe only get one real good shot to win it all. And when that happens, you got to maximize it.
Will they maximize it? You have Sean Payton. Yeah. I think that's a distinct possibility.
But we may be looking at seasons like, okay, you go 11-6 and you're a wild card. And the next year you're 9-8. And then the year after that, things go right. You're 13-4. And then that's when you have to strike.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have to get hot in the postseason, which we've seen more and more of over the years as well as the NFL playoffs, aside from Patrick Mahomes and company, the NFL playoffs start to look more like baseball, where it's just whoever's hot at that moment.
Right. I've said timing. Sean Payton says vision. What kind of vision we got today, Mace, as we wrap up the show? I'm on at 5 doing the draft. Mace, you'll be here.
I'm about to start.
I'm going to the studio to do 5 hours of radio. Then you and I are going to go to our respective homes and do another late night OBT.
Yes. Another OBT after dark.
Yeah.
Chill
I love it.
And then I'm back here tomorrow. You're on radio most of the
I'm
day.
home studio, yes. For 8 hours. So this is what we do.
Brain dumping on the draft.
I love it.
I'll be out here catching up on conference calls with all the players the Broncos will be picking. Let me know if you have anything to ask George and Sean after the draft, by the way, because I'll be in that press conference too.
Okay. I'll send you some notes.
Yeah.
He's Andrew Mason. I'm Cecil Lammey. Let's do the YouTube things, Mace.
Let's do it together.
Right? Like, comment, share, subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that you never miss a vid.
I think that was the best one we've done.
The greatest of all time.
That was good.
Boom. There we go, buddy.
Coming in hot.
It's a spicy meatball.
Yeah.
He's Mace.
Dumb, man. You got some power in that.
Usually you hit my shoulder. Like when we're out on the road, you're always like, bam. Yeah. So
there's a little bit more tissue up here, I think.
He's Mace. I'm Cease. We are orange and blue today, and OBT is a BFD. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned, and would you please stay frosty,